My name is M.D. Tallman, or if you were to ask my parents, Michael Dirk Tallman. And the reason I'm shooting this video is for my crowdfunding page through IndieGoGo to help me develop an audio version of my new novel, The 13 Lives of a Television Repairman. Now, you may or may not be familiar with my work. I do a column for these guys, the North Valley Magazine here in Phoenix, the East Valley Magazine in Mesa, a couple others in between. Most of it's satire. They try to put me in romance every now and then too. I've written a couple novels before my most recent one that were released under a pseudonym. They were very dark psychological thrillers, and honestly that's not my strongest work because I have a forte for fiction, science fiction, and satire. And that's when I came up with this bad boy. And this is the actual rough draft. Very painful to write a novel in pencil, 200 pages of handwritten, and then to transfer it into an actual manuscript using whatever word processor you use. I've already gone out and hired the best talent to help me edit the book, to help me create designs like this one. This was done by a professional comic book artist out of New York named Rollo Ledesma. You should look him up. And I've gone ahead and transferred the work into a couple of different cover formats and have chosen a cover. And I've even gone so far as to hire an actor who's submitted an audition, which I will play shortly after this video for you with some images as the backdrop. Long story short, I have to pay for all of this out of pocket, and even though I've got a year and a half or so of writing regular columns for magazines, I also have a family and children and a day job, and these things aren't cheap. So I'm looking for a little bit of help by some pre-orders of the audiobook and getting signed copies of the novel to help me pay the initial fee to hire the production staff that's going to do the audiobook. So I'm hoping that you guys would be willing to help me out with my project and support the local arts community. Thanks so much. Here's an audio clip to let you know what this is all about.
Nick Ralph, 1952. All of this stuff happened pretty much as I've written it, except the bits that never happened at all. That which did happen was always going to have happened, and there was no stopping that. You may not remember it. Hell, your parents may not even remember it, but your grandparents will, or would have if not for the hydrogen bombs. Truth is, I'm not sure who I am writing this to or why. I just am. There's nothing else to do around here without Elvis, my golden retriever, rest his soul. Notice I didn't say God rest his soul. This is for the simple fact that God doesn't come this far south anymore. He left Florida on October 22nd, 1962, along with all the people. He might even have left a little earlier. That was just the first time I went looking for him and found him not there. He left no forwarding address. My father, rest his soul, had a way with words. He was calloused from too much long ago death fighting alongside the British in Germany, killing Nazis and so forth. Or at least that's what he'd have you believe. What had really happened was that he had been there for a short period and had seen the death of all his squad and their English-speaking counterparts and German-speaking doppelgangers, and had hidden himself under a pile of still warm corpses until he could escape. He had left the war terrified, and remained terrified until his death nearly 20 years later. He often recited the first line of a limerick when faced with the news of someone's passing. He was deflecting. I sort of adapted it along the way. I was deflecting too. When I mentioned my dog had died, he would have said, "Here lies old Gus." And if the dog was named Gus, it would make sense to everyone, but since no one was named Gus anymore, it seemed to only have meaning to the two of us. In other situations, such as conversations with old war buddies or barflies from the VFW club, he would refer vaguely to the limerick. The limerick was one about a man named Gus who'd been horrible to his spouse. On the day of his death, his wife's only emotion was joy that she had mailed his insurance check on time each month. It goes like this. Here lies old Gus, a miserable cheat, survived only by the wife that he beat. She's got no one now and as big as a cow, but his insurance paid through the teeth. Did you hear Charlie Weber blew his head off last week? his buddy might ask, to which father would undoubtedly reply, "I hope his insurance was paid." His buddy, Henry Fortenberry, when presented with the specific way someone had bought it, would say, "That's one way to do it," implying that death was little more than an option or a means to an end. Incidentally, Charlie Weber's insurance hadn't paid a dime. Evidently, suicide wasn't a good way to do it. We all say stupid things when people die, I suppose. When I lost my dog Elvis, I said, "Here lies Elvis," because his name wasn't Gus. Boy, do I miss him. The dog, that is. I don't really miss my father anymore, and I never liked Henry Fortenberry. They're both dead now. Heart failure for Dad. That's one way to do it. Fortenberry let the car run in the garage until he went to sleep. That's another. If he'd have a wife, she would have been disappointed about his insurance not paying either. I used to have faith. Maybe I will again one day, but I doubt it. Not after what I've seen. You think my father was jaded? Not even. I've been hidden under a lot more bodies than he ever was.